lady is a lady.
Wow, that was great. That was a cormorant regurgitating the logo for the Verdugo HUUT on top of a church sanctuary. Animation by Marisol Barrett. Hello everybody, my name is Marty Barrett and welcome to the Verdugo HUUT. This show is entitled Go You, You Did It. You know, we've gone through a lot this past couple of months, couple of years, maybe even a couple of decades for some of you. And we're celebrating tonight with some songs and stories of perseverance and exhaustion. Now, if you are here for the very first time, congratulations. We're so happy to have you. Prior to the pandemic, there was a live version of the Verdugo HUUT held in this beautiful sanctuary, and I'm thinking of that sanctuary right now because here on January 23rd, 2021, it is a rare but welcome rainy day here in Los Angeles, and I can hear the rain on the roof. And for our very first HUUT, which was in February of 2018, that was a rainy day too, and you could hear the rain on the roof of the sanctuary of the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Verdugo Hills, and the mountains in the background, and the chupacabras, and various sacrifices going on in different parts of the neighborhood, and it felt very close and very, very intimate. So we've tried to recreate that in our digital HUUTs that we have been doing before anybody when the lockdown happened. So tonight's show is the 10th in the co-video series, but the 35th of our entire run. And tonight we have 5 performers, 3.5 of whom you have seen before on the live or virtual HUUT stage, and 1.5 that are gracing us here for the first time. They are David Kaufman, Justin Curtis, Heidi Mastrogiovanni, the Wizard of Rock, and Gray Delisle. You're gonna love this show, so strap yourself in. Gather those people or entities, bipedal, quadrupedal, unipedal, carbon-based, silicone-based, around yourself that you need, and enjoy the living shit out of this show. David Kaufman.
I'm very happy to have this next performer back. David Kaufman has been in the live and virtual HUUTs several times. I met him years ago at, I think, an open mic night somewhere in North Hollywood, which is the better of the Hollywoods. And he's played all around town, and he has some very interesting stories. So let's let David Kaufman into our lives.
Here I am, Marty.
David, I'm whatever point on the Kinsey scale I am, I'm very, very confident in, where I lie there. But you are like a devastatingly handsome man, and every time I see you, you just get more handsome. And if I weren't so secure, I would want to kill you.
Well, it's your security that's holding everything together right now. So keep going, my friend. Keep going.
All right, good. So first of all, great.
And if I were more secure, I wouldn't mind wearing these glasses. In fact, well, let's just use the excuse that the blinding lights reflect too much. So all right. So you win in the security department.
Well, yeah, I can't wear my glasses just because the magnification would incinerate our audience. Now, David, as I was telling these nice people a little while ago, that's why I told you I would let you in a few seconds. I met you a long time ago, and you are the definition of an LA troubadour. Can you talk about, I want to talk about some of those cover bands that you've played or tribute bands that you've played in.
The vast majority of my tribute band experience, as you know, has been Beatles tribute bands.
Your book about being an almost famous musician in LA, Spectator Slowing, which is a uh, a pretty meaty tome, is really good reading. It's nice and big. It's like a big phonics workbook.
That's true.
Is there a universal thread that connects every tribute Ringo, every tribute George, every tribute John, and every tribute Paul? Is there something that is true about all of them?
Something I noticed, and I refer to this in the book. I repeatedly refer to this as the license to kill. People, so not everyone, but some of the Beatle boys would use it, knowing they really abused the goodwill that the world has toward the, like 40 years of usually baggage metaphorically is thought of as negative, but the Beatles have 56 by now years of positive baggage in the world. The closest thing the world has to being universally loved. And guys would take advantage of that and just use it as an excuse to act out their personal psychosis.
Wow. So here in LA and environs, people who were in tribute Beatles bands would, because of the goodwill granted to them by this huge catalog of music, would take it as a permission to act megalomaniacally.
Well put, Marty.
Well,
Yes, I can attest to this. And not always the same. Yeah, it would tend to be the John, but not always. I can think of two Ringos who got away with some shit
wow. You
that
wouldn't think it would be
in
Ringo.
other context they would have paid a price for.
When you had a show with a tribute band that was really cooking, what level of insanity or fandom or hysteria or enthusiasm did you witness in the audience?
How should I approach that question?
Approach it graphically.
Graphically. I can say
These people at the Verdugo HUUT are interested in stories of rock star excess, even if it's in a tribute band.
many times you would look out into the audience and they would be, the audience played their part, just like the band played their part. They used it often as an excuse to act out, to scream like they wouldn't normally, to be very flirtatious and give you maybe even certain ideas of plans they might have that involve you in the near future.
Did
But
anybody tattoo things on their eyelids for you?
But here's the thing. As soon as the show's over, from the band, show's over from the audience too. They disappear. Is that the kind of graphics that you wanted, Marty?
I have to say, David, it wasn't as graphic as I hoped, because I will never be that level of musician. I can only admire the skill of musicians.
You were hoping to live a little bit more through me on that. I'm sorry I let you down.
Well, David Kaufman, what song will you be playing for us this evening?
I have pre-recorded one of my original songs.
Wait a minute. It couldn't possibly be pre-recorded. You're gonna
No,
just
no.
do it live and be in a different outfit, right?
I was referring to the costume change, of course.
Okay, yeah. You're going
And
backstage and you're doing costume change.
it's called "Hold You in My Mind." It is on my most recent recording, Scratch.
Well, David Kaufman, thank you very much, and we will hold you in our mind.
That's all I ask, Marty. That's all I ask. Tossed off a boat, I could barely float. I was lost in a stormy ocean. Washed up on land, I could hardly stand. A new world now that measure each motion. Separated from my love, a long and lonely time. I got to hold you in my mind. If I can hold you in my mind, then I know I feel you in my heart, giving me the strength to play my part till I hold you in my arms. Stuck in a line, now there's nothing but time, and the numbers are all that matter. Never thought I would be spending it all locked up with the Hare and the Hatter, separated from my love, a long and lonely time. I got to hold you in my mind. If I can hold you in my mind, then I know I feel you in my heart, giving me the strength to play my part till I hold you in my arms. Feeling like I've lost track who I wanted to be, but when I fill my mind with your face I find it comes streaming back to me. It's supposed to be, hold you in my mind, separated from my love a long, long, lonely time. If I can hold you and I know I feel you in my heart, giving me the strength, play my part, hold you in my mind. If I can hold you in my mind, then I know I feel you in my heart, giving me the strength to play my part till I hold you in my arms. In my arms. In my arms. In my arms.
Was you know, when I was a child, learning how to be a man by watching television, which is how we learn, I thought there would be so much more of my adulthood spent reconsidering my coffee. You know what I mean? Uh, like all my childhood, people like Lyle Wagner, for example, were always doing stuff like this. That's good coffee. And it just it prepared me for a world in which there would be microaggressions against coffee, and a world where people would, hate most of the coffee they had. If so, why would you ever drink it if most of it was bad? And a good cup of coffee would surprise you. Regardless, David Kaufman, what a nice gent. Our interview was actually much longer, and I had to edit it down to a tiny light-speed disc, because we talked about the Kinks and the Monkees and Bob Dylan, and lots of slights that one can have in the LA music community. And you should really read about those in his book, Spectator Slowing. Next up, a great fellow named Justin Curtis, and you'll hear all about him from my own flaps.
I met this gentleman basically a year ago last week at a great long-standing annual Elvis tribute that we used to do here in Los Angeles that is no more because of the COVID. You've heard of the COVID, but will be, resurgent like a variant of the COVID next January for Elvis's birthday. And the very next month after I met him for the Elvis tribute, he came for the second anniversary Verdugo HUUT show and has been a staple in the digital hoots ever since. Say hello to our friend, Mr. Justin Curtis.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you, Marty, for having me on the show again.
It's great to see you, Justin. And the last video that you played that has gotten thousands of views on Facebook is Somebody Lied, which is the cheeriest, depressing song I heard all last year. It speaks to a lot of disillusionment for, earnest, right-thinking people.
Yeah, and that was where it started. It started with just so much information conflicting that, well, obviously somebody's lying because both these things can't be true, and so I deals with a lot of things. There's political and social, and but yes, I did want it to be. I wanted to have some element of hope in there, and so there's a few things I did in the video and a few things I did in the audio that kind of hint at, well, maybe we still have a chance.
Yes, it's Somebody Lied is a type of song that kind of makes me want to go out and feel like I can punch a wall and be successful at it. Right. And the accompanying video is really great because you're out in the desert, and I don't come from a desert place, so I felt like I was about to incinerate myself just by watching it. But can you tell me about the video shoot out?
Well, the video shoot, I mean, we went full method on that. I mean, some actors would go out in the middle of winter and shoot that when it was like 60 degrees. But Luke and I decided, no, we're gonna do this for real. So it was 130 degrees when we were in the desert. So if it looks like I'm about to die, well, yes, that's exactly what was happening. That's realism there. We did a lot of practical shooting.
So where out in the desert were you, just in case there are people who want to pay tribute to it?
Yeah, we're up mostly along the California-Nevada border. There's a couple of abandoned towns up there, Rhyolite and Garlock, and then there's the Coyote Dry Lake bed, which is where you see me walking through. So it's just miles and miles of open, just desolate space.
Holy cow! And you did this during quarantine?
Yeah, I did it in August.
You really did go full method on that.
We did. Well, part of it is like, with such a low budget, I was, conscious about people's schedules. And at that time, we still didn't know how long this was going to last. So I thought, well, everybody's available right now. Let's just shoot this and be done. And then, of course, months later, it's like, well, we could have done it in January.
And you had an LA actress turn into an angel.
Yes, with some special effects from my friend Joel, who added that in there. Yeah, Desiree Manley was played the part of the angel and did it quite well.
What sort of craft services did you have out there in Carlock?
I believe it was Exxon that we stopped at and got got a few crackers and cookies. Yeah, so craft services there was none, and of course we were very conscious about social distancing. So at the most the shoot was there were 3 of us. There was myself, Desiree, and Luke doing all the camera work, and then most of it was just Luke and I working together. So yeah, we were very, very careful and make sure that everyone was safe.
Well, it's a kick-ass video, and you can see it on a previous Hoot, and you can also get it on your album. But also, the next song that you're going to do is precedes that song, but is in a similar vein. Can you nebulously describe the song that you're about to do?
Yeah, well, Marty, of course, when you asked me to do this, I thought, what's really important right now is to do songs that are uplifting and inspirational. But I immediately realized I don't have anything like that. So this song is pretty much the opposite. It's one called "Nothing Lasts Forever," and well, that's all I'm going to say.
Well, thank you for doing as many of the Hoots and other contributing to other people's digital shows as you have, Justin. And now let's listen to "Nothing Lasts Forever."
I'm sorry for the dreams that didn't come true. I know you believed, but believe me, I did too. Life don't always go the way that you planned. Please forgive me, I'm just a man left with nothing. It's your smile that used to light my life. Now it's your tongue that cuts just like a knife. You cut through the flesh right down the bone, cut up my heart and left me alone with nothing. They say nothing lasts forever, and I guess they're right. As I sit here alone with nothing, night after night. We all know the need for a lover's touch. Simple desire is sometimes too much. As this love story comes to an end, we'll find ourselves alone again with nothing. They say nothing lasts forever, and I guess they're right. As I sit here alone with nothing, night after night. You walk by and I still feel the heat. The fire started long ago burns deep. The pleasure must be worth the pain, 'cause if you ask, I'll do it all again for nothing. They say nothing lasts forever, and I guess they're right. As I sit here alone with nothing, night after night. They say nothing lasts forever, and I guess they're right. As I sit here alone with nothing, night after night.
I like how Justin Curtis kind of walks off into the distance, like Shane or Rick Grimes or Mother Abigail or Our Lord Jesus Christ at the end of that. That's the way I'd like to go too, send me off into the desert, and then I will slowly fade from view and disappear and then reappear again as like a Hummel or something. Anyway, you're going to really enjoy our next guest. I know I do.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are in for a treat. You know, there are people in the world who are like sunflowers, and it's a great skill, I think, to be able to, just drop somebody into any group of people, whether they be an après-ski David Niven kind of cocktail party crowd, or bikers at the Sturgis bike rally, or well, those are the only two places that I hang around. And this person, this brilliant writer and wonderful human being, would be comfortable in either idiom. Would you please welcome Ms. Heidi Mastrogiovanni?
Marty, thank you so much. I'm actually very teary because that is one of the most wonderful introductions, and I'm going to make a prediction I will ever have if I live to be 400. If I'm a Methuselah, I won't get a better introduction or one that moves me more. Thank you very, very much.
And now I think we have some imperative to go to Sturgis Bike Week.
I'm going with you. The second this Michigas is over, we're going.
When the Hoot was a live affair, and you would come and read from one of your tomes from the Lala Pettibone Extended Universe, people just fell in love with you. And I'm wondering how somebody with such a spirit as yours is handling months and months of isolation with only your talented husband and your talented dogs.
I think that my neighbors, whether they know me personally or not, would agree with you like you just said something they're agreeing with, would agree that I do a lot of talking to people when I'm walking the dogs from a distance, but it's a lot of, oh, what's your dog's name? How old is, and just a lot of interaction. I grab it when I can get it. There are moments, I'm sure, when Tom wants to say, my lovely husband, Tom, couldn't we just have 5 minutes of quiet? Just 5. So a lot of chatting, a lot of chatter.
Having read 2 of the books in the Lala Pettibone trilogy, which have a fearful symmetry, as Mr. James would say, with your own life, I know that you were a native New Yorker trapped in an Atwater Village lady's body. So as you're walking your dogs down the street with all this extra space, and not only the social distancing, but the fact that Los Angeles's streets have been laid out with the idea of privacy in mind, does your husband, with his dulcet tones, ever have to deal with you shouting across several acres to ask somebody's dog's name?
Yes. In a word, yes. Distance, neither distance nor sunshine nor perfect weather shall stop me in the faithful execution of my duties to chat. There's a word in French, the glorious language of the Gauls, as I like to refer to it, and it's the verb is bavarder, the noun is bavard, and that's like chatterbox. And how pretty is that language? How wonderful! And I'm like, je suis un bavard, and I say that with pride because I'm a chatterbox. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing this up, because you are one of this county's delightful polyglots. You're also equally fluent in German. And where did the German come from again?
Well, the German, my dear, is more so, because the German is, I learned when I was about 2. And when you're that age, hun, give me a weekend as a 2-year-old and I'm fluent by Monday. And that's the case. When I speak French now, as I always like to say, I think in English and then I translate in my head as we're going along. I understand much more than I can speak, unless I've had un verre du vin, in which case I am speaking French because I don't care if I make a mistake. I just don't care, and I think that's the key. But you know, Marty, you and I share. I'm going to speak for both of us because you know, what are you going to do? You and I share an absolute love for words and language.
Yes, but I'm not fluent in a language the way you are, and I always I love learning new words in different languages, but I'm not as facile as you are. What
But you know what you're fluent in?
love? Justice?
Hilarious. You're fluent in hilarious.
Oh,
Hilarity, whatever the word is I should be using.
um, what is a German word that you can share with our audience? Like,
Oh my God.
my favorite one is the Backpfeifengesicht.
Ted Cruz in a compound word. Marty, would you like to tell them what it is?
A Backpfeifengesicht is a noun, and it is a face worthy of slapping.
Just begging to be slapped.
Begging to be slapped. So give us another really great German word.
Okay. Well, gosh, all the typical ones are coming to mind, and I hope I don't disappoint you. Nothing's coming to mind. I mean, Weltanschauung, worldview, of course, I love. Oh. This is a little bit less poetic, and I don't even know if it's German or if it's the Bavarian dialect, which is the first thing that I learned because my mother was from Bavaria, and as you know, Germany not being unified, much like Italy, the other half of my background, as if my name doesn't give that away. Each of the regions have their very, very, very strong dialects in addition to High German, but there's a lovely word. It's called Siffig. And that means something that's just a drink that just goes down real easy. And for some reason, I know it's like, oh, this wine is really Siffig. And I just find that word very charming. And you know, charm for me goes a long way.
Yes. How do you spell Siffig?
If I'm remembering correctly, always a big if, I would just like to point out. I believe it's Siffig. If my German niece is watching this, and she better be, she's probably going, yeah, no, or yeah, das stimmt. Yeah.
Siffig, that's great.
I just love that word. Yeah.
Thank you. I would like to meet some twins named Saftig and Siffig.
If there's a God in heaven, if there is justice, after everything we've suffered in the past 4 years, you will. You deserve it, my friend. And I want to be there when that happens, drinking a really Siffig wine.
So Heidi, do you want to set us up a little bit for what you're about to read, or should we just go right into it?
I'm going in both directions. I'm a Libra. I can't decide. Marty, you're going to have to decide for me, my friend.
All right, then let us keep it vague and just sit back, Hoot audiences, whatever device you're watching this on, and thrill to Heidi Mastrogiovanni. Thank you.
Lala walked up the side stairs, hoping, as she always imagined she would if she were ever nominated for an Oscar and if she ever won, that she wouldn't trip and fall flat on her face on the way up. She got to the stage unscathed. There was a small table and a chair center stage. Lala put her purse down on the chair and faced the audience. John sat down next to David. They both smiled up at her. "Whenever you're ready," John said. "Great, thanks. For my comedic monologue, I'll be doing a piece from Lily Tomlin's The Search for Signs of Intelligent Life in the Universe." "Excellent," John said. Lala sighed deeply and shook out her wrists. She was nervous, but she started to relax and enjoy herself a little when the first punchline of the piece got a big laugh from both men. She got through the whole thing and managed a little smile of relief. "Very nice," John said. "Thanks," Lala said. She felt grateful for their warm response. Auditioning had never been something that was pleasurable for her, not at school, not in New York. But the two men were being so pleasant, Lala was finding a bit of joy in the experience. For my dramatic monologue, I'd be doing a speech by the character of Quint in Jaws. Lala watched as the smiles on David's and John's faces seemed to freeze in mid-grin. She waited for them to say something. Nothing audible was forthcoming for some time. "Wow," David finally said. "Yeah," John agreed. "Wow." Lala centered herself for a moment and then spoke. "Japanese submarine slammed 2 torpedoes into our side, Chief," she began, growling her words in an attempt to mimic the famously gruff delivery of the great actor Robert Shaw. "It was coming back from the island of Tinian to Leyte. Just delivered the bomb, the Hiroshima bomb. 1,100 men went into the water. Vessel went down in 12 minutes. Didn't see the first shark for about half an hour. Tiger, 13-footer. Additional minutes passed as Lala described the carnage inflicted by the shark that would forever scar the character of Quint, until his final, iconic reckoning with Spielberg's greatest of ocean monsters. "When he comes at you, don't seem to be living, until he bites you, and those black eyes roll over white. And then, then, you hear that terrible high-pitched screaming, and the ocean turns red, and in spite of all the pounding and the hollering, they all come in and rip you to pieces." Finally, the closing words of the speech, as essayed by Lala Pettibone, echoed throughout the tight space. "So, 1,100 men went in the water. 316 men come out. The sharks took the rest. June the 29th, 1945. Anyway, we delivered the bomb." Lala hung her head for a moment to let the tragic tale have its due respect. There was complete silence in the theater. Lala lifted her eyes. The two men were staring at her, their mouths agape. "Wow," John finally said. "Yeah," David agreed. "Wow." "Thanks," Lala said. She felt great about her work so far, and she loved their awed responses. "Gosh, I'm having fun," she thought. "I'm almost looking forward to serenading them. No, that's not true. Jesus, here we go." "And your song," John said. "Yes. Wait, you don't speak German, do you? Either of you?" "I don't," John said. "Neither do I," David said. "Cool." Lala looked at the chair on the stage and had an idea. She picked up her purse and placed it on the table. She lifted one of her legs and put her foot down on the chair, thinking that she would imitate the sexy stance of La Dietrich in The Blue Angel, when she sang and bewitched the shy, hapless professor played by Emil Jannings, thus sealing his ultimate doom. And as she did this, Lala realized that her idea had not been a good one. Shoot, Lala thought. Dietrich was playing a torch singer. She was basically just wearing stockings in that scene. Why didn't I wear a dress? I have nice legs. Why did I wear these tight jeans? Lala had an impulse and she gave into it without thinking. She grabbed the hem of her jeans and started jerking it up over her ankle, hoping to get it past her knee. The fabric got stuck halfway up her calf. I look like an idiot, Lala thought. Just sing, for God's sake, and get it over with. Lala cleared her throat. Her foot remained on the chair, and the leg of her jeans remained hanging in mid-flesh. She closed her eyes, and then she sang. Kind of. Ich bin von Kopf bis Fuß auf Liebe eingestellt. Damn, Lala thought, I can't remember the words. Denn das ist... Make up something. They don't know German. Just make up something. Knarben, Knussen. What is that? Lala silently asked herself. Wasn't that the name of a Swedish character in one of those short films on Saturday Night Live in the early 80s? You sound demented. Sauerkraut und Kindergarten und Gesundheit. Oh, for God's sake, you speak Yiddish. Lala silently hissed at herself. This cannot be so difficult for you. Oi, wes mir, sei nicht mehr sugar. And at that point, Lala, without any actual internal debate, just decided to shrug apologetically. She hummed the rest of the song, or as much as she could remember of the rhythm and the timing, and at the end, She just let her voice trail off into the ether. She paused, debating how best to make her exit. Before she could remove her leg from the chair, the two men in the audience spoke simultaneously. Wow. Yeah. Wow. A few days after her audition, John phoned Lala and invited her to join the acting company of the Full Speed Ahead Theater in Tribeca. It wasn't until years later that John, who had become one of Lala's dearest friends, would admit to her that he and David were so startled by how bad her singing was, they felt as though they were going to pass out. And the sight of Lala's bare ankle during the song was the only thing that kept them from actually swooning, because it was so clearly intended to be sultry and had so dreadfully managed to achieve exactly the opposite effect. David and I talked about it, and we figured we should just cut you a major break and let you into the company, because what the hell, you know?
Wasn't Heidi great? Don't you want this pandemic to end so that you could be invited to her weekly literary salon and hear bonzement or whatever the French call it? I don't think French is a real language. And then over some perceived slight be banished from her presence. Doesn't that seem like a really great way to spend your time? Heidi Mastrogiovanni. Next, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. After college, I worked for 3 years overnights in a psychiatric hospital. And because I had read the book Sybil, I was prepared for various breaks from reality and breaks from one's own personality. So I've known this guy, Steve Johnson, for many years, but never in the Hoot have I seen someone undergo such a psychotic break. Well, I was married. On stage right before my eyes when he turned into the Wizard of Rock. But it was shocking and glorious. I hope you enjoy it.
Well, everybody, I'm very excited to bring up our next guest, whom I've known for several decades. And as you will see when his face comes up on the screen, our mothers styled our beards the exact same way. Stephen Johnson.
Hi, Marty. Hi, Verdugo HUUT.
Steve, we're almost a year into the pandemic, and some people, naturally are in terror of their lives and their sanity through isolation. But I've known you as a brilliant writer. So, aside from the peril of meeting other people, what
Yes.
sort of writing have you done?
I write a weekly column on lifehacker.com where I keep track of what teenagers and children are into on the internet, and I translate it for older people. It is called The Out of Touch Adult's Guide to Kid Culture. You can read it on lifehacker.com every week.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
What I'm just going to ask as a 31-year-old man,
Yes.
what have you noticed anything different in the engrossing power of the internet or screens, quote unquote, in general, that is different from your generation than in your 13-year-old son's generation?
Yes, my 13-year-old son and his friends can handle this much better than we are handling it. It's terrible. The entire world has sort of turned into like a big message board drama situation right now, with people believing like every weird thing that they hear on the internet. And I don't get the sense that my kid and his friends do that. They seem to have more discretion and more ability to put things into a proper context than older people do.
Okay.
Like on TikTok right now, that's a popular belief about Helen Keller being fake.
Really?
Which I totally love, yeah. And either it's that Helen Keller wasn't really deaf and blind, or that Helen Keller didn't exist at all. And yes, these are completely ableist sort of things to believe, and I get where that might be a problem. But on the other hand, it's not the belief that a presidential election was stolen, and therefore we must cause an insurrection in the Capitol building. You see what I'm saying? Nobody's going to cause an insurrection over Helen Keller, perhaps having been a fraud, which she wasn't, but you know.
It must be, well, earlier you talked about how kids are able to deal with the pandemic a little bit better than we as adults are. Have you been going through a dark night of the soul or a spiritual journey during these past 10 months?
I have. I've been doing a little, internal research with all this free time, and I have hit upon what I think is a path forward in a spiritual sense for people, and it involves harmonic convergences and intervals between frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
And I could demonstrate it for you right now if you like.
Oh my gosh, yes. And that doesn't sound insane at all.
No, it's fully transformative, and it's also tax deductible. So.
Oh, fantastic.
Let me.
Well, everybody, here's Steve Johnson.
After the song, we will have drinks like Kool-Aid, and I will explain to you how this entire situation works. But right now, you gotta get yourself into a whole bunch of this shit.
Yeah, drop D tuning. It can do it to you. I think you should look up the Wikipedia article about drop D tuning and find out the terrific hold it has over people. I hope Joe Biden and Kamala Harris address drop D tuning in the new administration, at least in the second 100 days. Folks, I try to keep the lights on. I try to keep myself in suspenders. I put these on because Larry King died this morning, and I also broke my belt. I wish somebody would come over here and give it their all. But I wrote this book over the pandemic. It's real. It's a tangible thing, and we have so few tangible things. It smells good, and you can get it, at your local library, Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com. You can ask your mother for it. It's called Limericks of Loss and Regret, and there's 50 limericks and 50 short stories in here. Each of them will break your heart. So there's 100 discrete pieces of art in this book, and you can read them one a year. Or you could read them in a weekend, or if you're dyslexic like me, you can read them in 6 months. It's a solid piece of literature that you should have in your home. It's better than going to see Starlight Express. I'm gonna read one limerick called "Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes." While I'd love to go out on a date, I'm afraid that you've asked me too late. I'm planning to comb these knits from my gnome while listening to Merciful Fate. If you like King Diamond, that's a very funny limerick. If you don't like King Diamond, you're like, hey, you've excluded me as an audience member. I don't know who King Diamond is. Aren't you supposed to bring me in? Why do you push me away? Well, that's why there's 99 other things to read in this book. Okay, our final guest was just a delight to talk with, and I'm so glad that she heeded my call to show up in her jammies. Gray Delisle.
I'm still in my best pajamas. I'm afraid for quarantine to end because I don't really want to put regular clothes on again. I don't want to die, but I also don't want to get dressed ever again.
Yeah, there's there's a whole wardrobe full of fabulous kimonos that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was always a big pajama person anyway, and now so this is really I have like the best, most fancy, fun pajamas, and everyone at work is getting to see those now, so that's good.
I didn't know how much of a sextuple threat you were until.
Oh.
But my daughter knows you. I told my daughter that you were a delightful person, but she knows you as an evil, kind of conflicted character.
Yes, she knows me as Azula from Avatar: The Last Airbender, I'm sure.
And and we've been going over the backstory, and I have to say, I can understand why Azula was Azula.
Well, my own mother thought I was a monster. She was right, of course, but it still hurt. That's a quote from the show. It's very true.
But you eventually became the head of Fire Nation, and did you reconcile with Zuko, your brother?
In the comic books, I did, but in my own headcanon, never.
Are there, you've been the voice for so many things. Do you ever recite, great works of Shakespeare or Sir Mix-a-Lot as some of your characters? And if so, might we hear Baby Got Back as Azula?
I like big butts, and I cannot lie. I don't know enough. Anyway.
One of the many cool things about you, in addition to your choice in slinky sleepwear, is,
Amazon.
Yes, is your facility with the auto harp. Now the auto harp is, we were talking earlier, the only other person I've ever seen play it was June Carter Cash. How did the auto harp enter your your sphere?
Well, my dad loved hillbilly music growing up. So he played from the time I was little, I was singing. It was so funny. There's actually there's a funny story about my sister. My dad was out in the backyard and my sister was on the toilet and she was like maybe 3 or 4. And he said she was singing in this little voice, "There ain't no good in an evil-hearted woman." He said he heard it like coming out of the bathroom window. We've all sang some Waylon Jennings on the toilet as a 3-year-old. Anyway, but my dad raised us on, the Carter family and Hank Williams and, Bill Monroe and all that stuff. So a lot of mountain music. So, I was used to, I knew Sarah Carter played the auto harp and I was writing all these songs in my head and then singing them to just someone who could play a guitar. I had a guitar and I was just not very good at it. So I really liked to write in my head because I felt like it made me feel more free to try different, because I wasn't limited by my limited ability on the guitar. Like, it's like if I didn't know a chord, I had it in my head. I didn't know what chord it was, but it was in my head. And then I would relay it to a guitarist and they would figure it out for me. And then I was kind of giving away like half of my songwriting credit just for someone figuring out. And then sometimes I was like, hey, that song's like just 3, like that's just CFG. How could, and then I thought, I gotta. So Marvin Etzioni, when I started working with Marvin Etzioni, who is a wonderful singer, songwriter, record producer. He now owns the label that I'm on, Regional Records. But back a long time ago, he had just worked with Counting Crows, and I knew him from Lone Justice because I was a big Lone Justice fan, and I loved Maria McKee. And he wrote "You Are the Light." I don't know that song by Lone Justice. Yeah.
Holy cow.
So yeah, I just covered that song for my upcoming record. But he just became a dear friend. We wrote a ton of songs together. We made 5 records together. And then I got pregnant with my oldest son and I just stopped writing, like the well just dried up. Oh, but when I was working with Marvin, he was like, why don't you just get an auto harp? Do you know what an auto harp is? And I was like, oh my God, yes, I love auto harp. I was raised on the Carter family. Yes. And I love June Carter. And he was like, yeah, why don't you just write it in your head and then just figure it out and write down. And I was like, this is genius. So yeah, when I was about 25, I got an auto harp at McCabe's and I taught myself how to play it. It's not, it's not the most difficult thing to play, but it was funny because at one point I was like, I want to take a class and just get better at, doing all this stuff. And so I sat down at McCabe's to take my auto harp class. And the guy was like, how long have you been playing that? And I was like, a couple of years. And then I've written all these songs on it, put out these records. And he's like, you're playing it completely upside down, And I was like, oh, I am. And he was like, yeah. And he goes, but you know what? It sounds great. It works for you. I would just keep doing that. So I had a strap that I wore it standing up. A lot of people play it sitting down in this sort of like, old parlor style, just across your chest. Well, I guess I could show you, like Mother Maybelle, just like sort of like this,
Okay.
But I was playing it like like this. I don't think I saw enough photos of the Carter family actually playing. So I played it like this, and so it's kind of upside down, but it works for me. I bejeweled mine. This is an old one. I have several auto harps. They all have names of the Carter family. This is Maybelle. I have Sarah is a dark red one. I have Anita, who's a black auto harp. I have a little tiny old one called June. Anyway, I have they're all named after the Carter sisters. But so yeah, so he was like, "You're the Jimi Hendrix of the auto harp." And so yeah, I had a strap on it. I had a wah-wah pedal when I would play live, and I got pretty down and dirty on that thing. So
that was the first time just now I saw a full auto harp. That is a substantial piece of wood.
It's 15 pounds. That's why I need this strap. I just ordered a brand new strap for it, but it's like mine says Mama on it. But it has to be pretty hefty because it's really thick. It's like, it's like as long as my hand. Because it's so heavy, and it really, when I used to tour, it would do a number on my shoulders. And yeah, so it's like carrying a little piano on your chest, That's probably why people sit down with it. But yeah, no, I love June Carter, and I'm a stand-up comic as well and an actress, and I play the auto harp. So I feel like I have a lot in common with June Carter and her. I actually got to play on a tribute record of hers that her son produced. But I've read all her books. I'm a June Carter-ophile. Is that a word? But anyway, I love June Carter. So yeah.
Where can people find more Grey Delisle online or in their ears?
I feel so guilty because I know so many people whose industries just shut down over COVID, but I feel like animation sort of had a renaissance because everybody could record, and oops, sorry. You can animate things. Sorry, I kicked you. You can animate things in a secluded setting, and then you can record in a distanced way. And so, animation just has never been things that were actually going to be on camera shifted to animation. So I feel like I had more opportunities this year, but at what cost? I mean, my God, our nation's been through such a horrible thing, but I feel like we're on the mend. I'm feeling very hopeful about the future. So
I like that can do Rosie the Riveter gesture.
Yes, yes. So I don't remember what I have ADHD. I don't know if you could notice that because I'm just like all over the place. It works for the acting, but it does not work for interviews very well.
I think you're doing, you know what? I don't think I need to boost your confidence at all, Grey Delisle. I think you're doing just great.
Oh, I was supposed to be promoting. I was supposed to be telling people where I'm on Spotify, Apple Music. If you go to greydelilegriffin.com, you can find all kinds of things. But if you just go to Apple Music and you put in my name, some things should pop up.
All right. Now
more to come this year. I'm putting out 2 records this year. So because I've written like a ton of songs in quarantine. I wrote a new song last night. I've been probably written 15 songs. So
now tell us a little bit about the song we're about to hear, because I know you have a very busy schedule, and I'm so happy that we got to hook up because the internet was crashing around here. Tell us a little bit about the song we're about to hear.
Oh, well, because since I don't see any adults, I'm just a single mother of 3 children. You're on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter at night. And so all those people become your friends. And of course, since I'm a single lady, I kind of got a little crush on someone that I don't know at all. And anyway, so I wrote a song about getting an internet crush on someone, and then just you kind of go down that road, and then you have to pull yourself back. Go, you're being a little bit weird right now, Gray. You're going a little cuckoo. But I haven't been around any adults in a long time, so you do what you can. Your brain probably just that's a coping mechanism, getting a weird crush.
Yeah, I'm having unnatural feelings about this 6-foot cardboard cutout of Chewbacca that I've developed a relationship with over. Anyway,
do you find yourself fantasizing about what's going to happen after? I mean, like, I'm gonna go. I mean, like, I've just been like, I'm gonna go to Las Vegas. I'm gonna go to Las Vegas, and I'm gonna order this food, and I'm gonna go to Palm Springs. I'm gonna, just all these things, and then of course I had to add a man into it too. So I really want to go to Disneyland. I do a voice on the Pirates of the Caribbean. If you go to Disneyland, I'm the red pirate on the ride, and I'm just such a Disney file. So part of my fantasy was about going to Disneyland, and then I thought and also I'm going to make out with someone there, maybe my Facebook crush.
I hope that person materializes, and it's not Johnny Depp.
God, no.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing this song with us. It's a great song. And I noticed now that we're looking deep into each other's eyes that you and Azula have the same colored eyes.
They yes, I have this kind of gold hazel eye, just one. But the animators, the animators actually looked at us in the booth, so they made Azula to look like me. So yeah, so that's not a coincidence. Yeah, so I just have to pull my hair. I have to make my eyebrows a little more. Anyway,
right.
I need 2 pieces of hair here, and I put my hair up, and there we go. Now we're getting closer.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Marty, for this. This was so fun.
Yeah, I am so glad that we all got to stop and stay a while with Grey Delisle.
I fell for your picture in a circle, just like in high school. You're in a band I've never heard of, but my friends say that it's cool. Yeah, my friends say that it's cool. I'm growing my bangs out past my shoulders, and my fingers smell like bleach. And all I want now is a stranger who's just beyond my reach. You're just beyond my reach. I'd walk for 1997 miles to hold your hand. And when this nightmare's over, let's make out at Disneyland. Let's make out at Disneyland. Teach me to grow things on a mountain. Screw the human race. You can write love songs on your keyboard, and I can touch your face. I wanna touch your face. I'd walk for 1997 miles to hold your hand. And when this nightmare's over, let's make out at Disneyland. Let's make out at Disneyland. The world is just about to end, and we've got mutual friends, mutual friends. I fell for your picture in a circle, just like in high school. You're in a band I've never heard of, but my friends say that it's cool. Yeah, my friends say that it's cool.
Wasn't that wonderful? Folks, I'm so glad you joined us. It was only, an hour and say 5 minutes out of your life. And I hope you became closer to the people around you during that time. And I hope you'll take the opportunity to throw a little PayPal cash the way of the performers and for UU Verdugo, which produced this show when it was live. And, because I have so much blackmail material, I hope will invite us back. You have a lot of blackmail material against Unitarian Universalists. The things I know about John Adams, for example. We'll see you next month on February 20th for our 3rd anniversary show. We're going to have people that have been to our show many times before, and a couple of things. We're not going to have a theme. It's just going to be a, hey, so glad you're still alive kind of extravaganza. And that's the way I feel about you, folks. I am so glad that you're alive. Now, get out of here. Go walk out into the desert.
Unto her bedchamber she brings those wealthy gentlemen. You leave behind your ancient musks. But there is one young man who she would see again. He's worth more than your diamonds, yachts, and tusks. That's right. A long-legged, sultry lady. She sways her hips for the gentleman on the lonely side of town. When it's midnight in my city, I go to see my lady, and I bring her gifts of sweet white wine and spices from the east.